Robin Lehner, who, for whatever reason, decided to take a blowtorch and, in layman's terms, woke up and chose violence because he put the Buffalo Sabres on blast. He put the Philadelphia Flyers and Alain Vigneault on blast with allegations that he may be pushing some different types of drugs and medications onto other players. It's a lot of kind of weird ground that we may be touching on for these next few minutes on this topic, but I think it's important that we talk about it. And before we get to the news aspect of all of this, of what's next, because we know Robin Lehner apparently could be meeting with the NHL. CJ, when you heard or saw Robin Lehner's tweets on Twitter about everything that he said, what was your initial reaction?
I was a little surprised, I guess. I mean, I actually didn't see it Saturday night. I went to bed early, wasn't looking at Twitter too much before bed, and woke up Sunday morning. I was like, whoa, no, that was a lot there to digest. And, I think what's important to me is Robin Lehner is an interesting dude. I think he's a very courageous fellow. The way he's talked about, his issues with substance abuse, when he had to go to rehab, some of the mental struggles that he's gone through. And, I guess once you digest sort of what was all there, and I think we'll probably get into this, but wasn't entirely clear everything that was being alleged. It was, it was sort of almost a stream of consciousness type of thing was how it came across to me in reading it on Sunday. But, for Robin, I really believe that he's someone who's willing to put it out there. And he obviously really believes in what he's saying here. And I think he's got more to say. And, I think he's a really valuable person in the sport because, he's willing to sort of push beyond, some of the niceties, I guess, we all deal with and speak his truth. And, I commend him for that. And, I'm not entirely sure where this is going, though, in terms of what he's now going to say to the NHL and what happens there. But, I do think, we want to create a space, I guess, where someone like that is being supported because, I do think he's got a lot of value to add.
I just want to read a tweet, two tweets here that I think kind of sum up the way that Robin has approached this whole thing on Twitter. I've made crazy amount of mistakes, but lying about what I've seen for 12 years is not one of them. I don't care what they say. I don't lie about these things. 100, he does the 100 emoji. True. I'll keep going. Have stored stories for a year. Watch now and NHL will try to cancel me. Good luck, whatever. Okay, the last sentence admittedly a little bit broken there, but the next tweet that follows below is come up about me. I don't care. I don't know. Look, like that sounds like somebody who just feels they have nothing to lose and they just want to put everything. I'm also just curious, like, was it the fact that Jack Eichel was going through what he was going through in Buffalo? Did something else occur over the last few days that made him want to do this? Because it's one thing if you have these stories and you have them in the back of your mind and maybe one day you want to put them in a book or something. But the way that he put out this stream of consciousness, this would lead me to believe that like something happened in the last few days that would make him want to say this.
My understanding is that a lot of the triggering for this is the Jack Eichel situation. And,
Okay.
Obviously Robin spent a few years playing for the Sabres, knows Jack Eichel well. And, I don't know how much inside info he has on what's going on there, but certainly doesn't like the way this has gone on. And we've talked about this in a previous episode. I mean, that's a really complicated situation still, Julian. Like he's no closer, in my opinion, today to being traded than when we, spoke about it 2 weeks ago. Obviously I guess he is closer. Each passing day takes you one day closer. When it will happen, it's going to happen at some point, but there doesn't appear to be much movement behind the scenes with Jack Eichel. He still wants to have the disc replacement surgery. Sabres want to have him spinal fusion type of surgery. And, when you're at that crossroads, I mean, I don't know how that solves itself. And then on top of that, Jack Eichel and his representatives are trying to find another team comfortable enough to give up a huge haul to get him and make that happen. And so anyway, it is a case where, it's a complicated injury. And I would say in Jack Eichel's case, it's not clear, there's different doctors that believe the disc replacement surgery is the right way to go. And it's not like the Sabres have the only set of doctors that believe the fusion surgery is the way to go. So there really is, it's kind of a crossroads or a stalemate in the medical community about how to progress. And Jack Eichel, because of the terms of the CABA, as with any player, doesn't have full control over his treatment plan. And so, I guess the fact that this situation has gone on and continued to fester, I mean, I don't know when we're going to see Jack Eichel play an NHL game again, unfortunately. I mean, this is very much up in the air. And so he's losing another valuable set of time here in his career. And, I think that that's really what pushed Robin Lehner to speak out about some other things he didn't like, specifically to do with painkillers and Ambien, being given to players not in a prescribed manner from a doctor. Anecdotally, that lines up with what I've heard from some former players. I don't think that he's speaking so far out of turn here. It's hard to imagine this. And so, let's hope that I think the best outcome here is that both the NHLPA, which has already spoken to Robin, and, soon the NHL will do the same, take, what he has to say to heart and try to follow up on that. I do think there've been some positive strides in the most recent CBA with players and painkillers and those types of things, but it's a real issue. It's not, it's good of Robin, I guess, to shine his light on it because it's going to get it some attention and hopefully some action too.
I want to add a bit of context before I ask my next question with regards to what Robin Lehner went through in Buffalo, according to his Twitter anyway. Forgive me, I am going off of his Twitter and doing the whole look down thing, but I think it's important we add that context. But Robin put out a tweet, which actually shows a photo of his ankle, and he captions it, "They screwed my ankle," in reference to the Buffalo Sabres, "big time. Then surgery, then pills. No care, almost died, but after forcing leg press after a few weeks, after bad high ankle sprain first game." And he references the ankle, that is foot after treatment. "Later, my soul is gone after a month after surgery. It's not all pretty." So this is clearly someone who felt that they were wrong by the way the Buffalo Sabres handled things. And just as from an outside perspective here, seeing that and looking at what's going on with Jack Eichel, of course, the Buffalo Sabres do not look good in any of this. The question I wanted to ask you kind of pertains to the second half of your answer, where you started going in on the fact that the NHLPA obviously being involved, the NHL is supposed to be getting involved with Robin Lehner. Alain Vigneault had to address these allegations at a press conference in Philadelphia today and obviously denied what was being said out there. Is there any news on what the NHL might do with the Flyers or Vigneault, if they're going to be doing any investigations on that front? What can you just tell us?
Well, I think it's a little premature to say what will come out of this, if anything. I think first step is to sit down with Robin and have him detail his allegations, what he knows, what he's got bottled up, that year's worth of stories he referenced in his tweets. And then I think if action is needed, then obviously there would be some type of investigation, whether it's the allegations against the Flyers or otherwise. One thing we should point out actually is that Robin has since clarified he wasn't suggesting that Alain Vigneault was actually himself giving out pills to players. He was more saying that he hasn't liked his treatment from what he's heard of some players. Interestingly, Lehner's never played for Vigneault, right? That's why. Yeah. When you're reading the series of tweets, it was a little hard to follow in the sense that you're just wondering, where is this all coming from? Except that, Robin's obviously getting things off his chest. And, given what we know about him, given his paths, I would say this isn't someone who's going to be silenced. I sense that there's maybe a little bit of cynicism out there. People say, oh yeah, sure. He'll have these conversations and it'll never go anywhere. I just think, given the conviction that Robin has, even the few times I've talked to him over the years, I haven't talked to him since this series of tweets. So it's just more going off his history. But, I really believe that he's got a man with a lot of conviction and I don't think that he will be silenced. And so, that's where I see a tremendous amount of value in this. Obviously, just having the courage to come forward and share some things. I think there's a lot of players out there that wouldn't be. And I think Robin's doing this for himself, but also doing it for the athletes he's shared dressing rooms with, around the league. And so, this to me won't just be a one-day story and done. I do think it's too soon to say where it will go. And we're not privy to all the information that he claims to have here, but I think that he's someone that if he's not satisfied with the response that he gets in dealing behind the scenes with the league and the Players Association, I fully expect he'll go public again.
What did you think about the fact that he chose the medium of Twitter to lay this all out? Because he could have, one, maybe gone on a podcast, or two, spoken to the media and maybe just kind of brought it up. He's spoken personally about himself to the media before. I'm just curious what you thought about the fact that he decided to go this stream of consciousness route by just divulging everything that he did on Twitter.
Well, I think it's maximum impact in a sense, at least from a public standpoint, right? I'm sure, the league has set up a private 1-800 number where you can, call with anonymous tips basically on anything. And they have pledged to look into those, accusations that might come across that line, to do with how players are being treated or things that are being seen. He could have gone that route, but we might never found out about it. And, so I think that he's chosen to do this. I wonder, he was at a team event. I understand when he made those tweets. I just wonder, maybe something triggered him there, and he had his phone in his hand, and it's pretty easy to do. I mean, it's amazing how Twitter, can be so instant and immediate, right in your pocket. He didn't have to set up a meeting or even use the phone to call that number. He didn't have to, go on a podcast. I don't know how thought through that part was, but, I'm sure the league on some level would rather all this be dealt with a little bit more privately or behind the scenes. But, again, Robin is very comfortable putting himself out there, and I got no issue with it. And as I say, I still think we could see him do it again, just because he didn't follow up and do another tweet storm on Sunday, or at least Monday, to the point where we're recording this podcast. I don't think we've heard the last of him on these issues.